Pros and cons. The world blames dad when it's really your mom. Pros and cons. So I had to make a couple of adjustments here. Sorry I'm late. You white.
White.
But you know what? I've learned.
It's okay to be white.
I got my buddy Ruxpin over here walking by.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
He's about to load up the chat.
See who's here.
See who's here. See who's there. Here nor there.
Hit that like button.
Yeah, hit that thumbs up.
Like,
It gets
share,
the
subscribe.
algorithms going. That's what people say these days. But at the end of the day, man, we just don't want to look like a couple of losers, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because likes are everything.
You guys got to give us those thumbs up. Leave some comments on there. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not in the chat, you don't know how fun it is. You know what I'm saying? You just come stumble on, you find the video later, you're like, what the hell is this? You know?
Yeah, throw some comments. What's up, Matt? He says, hi, guys. I am
cracking,
white.
Matt?
Matt is definitely white.
Matt is white.
Matt eats stuffing instead of dressing. Apparently it's a black thing to have dressing on Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice. What? I mean, I thought dressing was like a sauce.
I thought dressing was like for salad.
Yeah.
But apparently they call whatever they eat with turkey, they call it dressing. And they don't put croutons. And then we eat stuffing.
I don't like stuffing. Never liked
Ah,
stuffing.
I love stuffing.
I hate stuffing.
Saucing on bra
I
gamma.
hate meatloaf. Huh?
Meatloaf's amazing.
No, that's from Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah.
Meatloaf.
Raymond says, we're not allowed to be white. That's right. They don't want you to be happy.
Who's we?
It's okay to be white.
Dressing goes into turkey. Yeah, it's kind of like stuffing, but what's the recipe of dressing versus stuffing?
Well, what's the difference between pumpkin pie and sweet potato pie?
A completely different root, tuber. I think it's what it's called. Sweet potato
At
versus...
the end of the day, the real root is anger. So get
have
to that
yourself
root.
some anger pie. Bring this a little closer.
And this is hot.
Yeah. More back there. Creamer's on the bottom.
That boiled coffee. So, anything exciting going on out there? Over here, not so much. Like I said before, I turned my place into kind of a dark, cavey movie theater, and I feel like a combination of things. The quarantine, there's no reason to go out anymore unless you go to the store. But my clock has just been crazy, man. I've been going to sleep in the morning, waking up in the afternoon, and staying up all night. And it's pretty insane. It's weird.
Yeah, schedule's all messed up.
But
When man pays, then our family pays, shall we communicate with you? When man pays, I did.
did you wake up this morning?
I did.
I was trying to load up some songs on here last minute.
What the? Cornbread and smoked oysters. That's what's in dressing? Sounds gross.
Smoked oysters?
And cornbread.
That sounds gross. I
That
love
sounds
cornbread.
disgusting.
I like cornbread with butter, lots of butter, and maybe sometimes some honey.
Cornbread is good. Unless it's really, really dry, like a biscuit.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
gross
Popeye's
too.
biscuits.
Worst.
You could actually commit an assault with a Popeye's biscuit.
It's that hard.
I remember when I was in high school, I used to get off at the bus stop, and there was this little general store, and there was like some old bread or something, sourdough outside on the ground, and this kid picks up the bread and like threw it at me, and I didn't see it, and it came out of nowhere, and it hit me in the face, and it cut me. So I had to go to school, and they were like, dude, what happened to your face? I was like, someone threw bread at me, and it was like everyone would laugh, and I was like, that's the truth. Some stale-ass bread.
Have you ever had tamales with lemon?
Tamales with lemon. I like lime with like my Mexican food. I wouldn't. Usually, if I go to get Mexican food and they give me lemons, it's because they're cheap
They're
bastards.
super cheap bastards.
And they don't want to give me limes because it's.
Everyone wants to hold their limes.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah, tamales are good. I never had it with lemons.
I'm not a huge tamale fan though in general. I
Was
like.
it, some people screw it up and they put way too much stuff or breading
Yeah,
and
it's like
not enough meat.
I don't know how to explain it, but I like enchiladas better than tamales.
It's definitely a Mexican thing, like whether it's a birthday, a quinceañera, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Yeah, tamales for everything. Always tamales.
When the moon hits right like a bigger pizza pie, that's tamales.
Blacks in Chicago call me Wonder Bread. That's right.
They call you Wonder Bread because they wonder where your bread's at. Yo, where's your bread? I wonder.
I got called Cracker in Fairview Heights, Illinois. Yeah, they used to call me White Boy. I've been called Cracker before.
Used to.
Honky. Yeah.
Shit.
Now they just call me the White Man.
They call me all kind of stuff. No, but I think anybody could call anyone anything, but at the end of the day, how you receive it is what matters. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. People could say whatever they want. They call me Ginger. Get a 10. You should get a 10.
What kind of toppings do you put on your dog face?
Well, usually it's just, maybe sometimes, what's that stuff? Ponzu? You know, for sushi?
Ponzu's good. He got me into that one.
Yeah.
Bomb sauce.
Most people just know about soy sauce. But
Trash.
Ponzu and yuzu, that's the only way to go, man.
Ponzu's amazing.
You don't want that just sodium saltville.
It's got like a savory taste to it. Everyone is pretty much white here. Yeah, everyone's pretty much white.
Well, I guess that makes us racist.
No ginger should try to get a tan. Yeah. Trevor actually is scared of the sun. So he has to stay out of the sun.
I wouldn't say I'm scared. I would say I know that the sun, I don't do well in the sun, so I don't enjoy the sun. Sometimes I like it. I like it when the air is really nice and cool outside, but then there's a little sunlight rays, and you can you can soak up the sun. But when it's hot, I live in California, and sometimes it's just so hot, and I'm in the sun, or I don't like to go to the beach too much. I like a forest where I can chill, and I have the option of shade. So if I get too hot, I can go in the shade. It's that the panicking suffering, like an ant under a magnifying glass.
Yeah, my brother, he's like you. He burns really easily, so he likes going out in the sun, but he would always get really bad burns. So you have to be careful. I'm like mixed, so I can get tan up to a point.
He can get tan up into a point, 'cause he likes points from men. He likes men's points.
Super Dave, la la la.
Yeah. We were totally unprepared, you know. I didn't want to come on here and be like, "What, man, here's the deal." Everyone's still talking about that Ahmaud Arbery case, but I mean, let the truth and facts come out. You know, it's like we could talk about it along the way. That's great, but
Yeah,
people just get divided and pissed off about it.
It's okay to be white.
It is okay.
It's okay to be white.
So, if anyone has any comments or questions, drop them in the chat. Any interesting things you've seen in your area on the news. We got a 3-month extension from courtesy of Governor Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, he was trying to make it sound good. We got to stay home for 3 more months.
Yeah, and now they want to have the power to go inside your house and separate you if you are sick.
I saw a crazy video of a
COVID-19.
family. I don't know where they were. I think they were in Canada. I think they were protesting a hunger strike or something like that. And they went into their homes and took them to like a psych ward to get tested out. Some crazy shit. They took them. Excuse my language. They took them barefoot.
Raymond says, "Don't vape, smoke a cigar or a cigarette like a real man."
Yeah, well, this is healthier. I don't care what they say. I used to smoke cigarettes, and I would find myself coughing. And as a vocalist, okay, I need to make sure that my vocals are like this acts as lubrication. Okay, this is what keeps me nice and moisturized.
It's such a SJW thing when they always start with "as a female,"
As a woman,
as a woman, as a black person.
as a white Christian straight male.
As a self-hating white man.
Yeah.
It's okay to be.
Liberty Fest protest at the Capitol, May 23rd. Douche flute for life over here. That's right, Bruce City Synth. There's nothing wrong with a douche flute, you know? I mean, I agree, cigarettes kind of have that badass look because they're always in the movies and you see the rebel smoking a cigarette. You know, I like blunts and joints over pipes because it felt cooler. I like the way
That
it
pipe
felt.
is kind of more representative of a crackhead.
Yeah, and it was just better to smoke, take a drag, you know, and then if you flick it, like, get out of here.
Out of here! This depends on how you hold it, you know? Like, I can hold it like this and be like...
Yeah, you don't
you don't hold
vape
it
like that.
You know, you could hold it many different ways. You can hold it pinkies up, like this. I wouldn't recommend it. I just hold it like a TV remote. You know, it's like, oh, change the channel, babe. Babe, change the channel. But I gotta push the button.
Yeah, there's still a manly way you can hold it. Some people, yeah. Have you been saucified yet?
Shut up, kid. Shut up.
Never been saucified. But I feel saucy.
Yeah.
Matt says we're going to be locked up in camps, FEMA camps.
Sweet. Are they FEMA? Less than like feminist camps?
Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Oh, darn it.
Some conspiracy theorists say that when Trump signed the emergency
Conspiracy
orders,
theorists.
that he gave power up to FEMA, and that FEMA is actually now in control and not Trump, and that we are now under the control of FEMA. That's the rumor going around the rumor mill.
Well, you know what they say about rumors.
They're unfounded.
They're just rumors.
Yeah, I don't know. What have you guys heard? Because there was this clip where Trump was saying it's been an honor to have been your president, and they're saying, see, he's speaking past tense, it's because he's no longer our president now. He's not saying it's an honor to be your president. He's like to have been, as if he, said bye bye.
Well, maybe he's creating a little hope of like, it could be over if you don't vote for me. You know what I'm saying? He could be like putting that fire in people. Like, hey, it's been great being your president. Now next election season's coming. So what's it going to be?
Yeah, so the mail-in voting now is being pushed across the whole country. It doesn't seem like it's going to stop. It seems like they're going to get their way. Some people were sharing on Instagram. It's hard to tell if it's real or not, but one person claimed that their Democratic relative got two ballots in the mail. Same person, but they got them two. And that the Republican relative got one per person. So they're already doubling up so you can submit 2 votes.
What is that? See, that's bullcrap. If I have the option, I'm still going in. I'm not voting by mail.
Yeah, forget vote by mail.
No mask. Voting at a kiosk. That's what I did last time.
Do you think Trump will legalize marijuana after his 2020 re-election?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm kind of, now that I'm woke, I don't know if weed is a good thing. It doesn't bother me that people smoke it, but they've done a 180 and now they're pushing it hardcore recreational and they're getting people hooked on it.
Well, it's definitely not what it used to be. I'm kind of torn on the whole drugs thing because when you're young, and you're just told, don't eat the cookie from the cookie jar, and then they want to get the cookie, But if it was legalized, right? If all drugs were legalized, but more education was there, like, and they had more like help to get people off of it. It wasn't like a criminal thing. It wasn't like, because I feel like people that like do drugs most of the time are just suffering and they're unhappy and they're trying to escape somehow.
It's a symptom.
Yeah, and so drugs is like, it's like they're not doing harm to anybody else but themselves, and they most of the time don't even see it. So if it was legalized, and weed is a very sneaky drug, but like all drugs, if it was legalized and they just had programs to help people, because our they take our money anyways, like might as well put our taxes towards something. It ain't going to our roads, and it ain't going to a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I just think the more people were educated about it, and like, in families and stuff, you could talk about it. You could be like, yeah, this is heroin. This is what happens when you do heroin. Not like, oh, don't do heroin. Like nobody wakes up and was like, oh, I want to do heroin when I grow up. It's just like one thing leads to another.
Yeah, I don't like how they exaggerate what weed does, because weed didn't lead me to try heroin. It wasn't.
But you don't learn about it at all. They just be like, drugs are bad, okay, don't do drugs, okay, and be criminal, locked up.
But it does messed with my memory. Like looking back now, after I was a smoker.
Smoking weed?
Yeah, I smoked for 20 plus years.
Marijuana.
Worked in that business. I was around it.
Me too, and I love the aesthetics of it too, like the scientifics of it. I had my little weed box with the catch the keef crystals, the little pollen presser. I sold weed at one
It becomes
point
like a
too.
hobby.
It was a big hobby. It wasn't just smoking it, and weed's weird because it's like when I didn't have weed, I'd be like, oh man, I need to get some weed. I need to get some weed. But it wasn't because I was dying to smoke it. I just needed that security to know I had it if I needed to smoke it. Because once I get it, I'd be like, oh, I'm cool. I don't need to smoke it. I got this weed right here. Pop the container and smell it, put it away. You're like, oh, I'll
I
smoke
remember wanting weed so bad. Like when we ran out, it was in college one time. It got so bad. We were dry for maybe a week, and we scoured the entire apartment. Me and my roommates, like looking for nugs on the floor, in between couches, collecting everything, and then we started scraping the resin off the bong, the black stuff,
Yeah.
and just getting as much as we can. And bro, like it just.
It's that fiend life.
Yeah, it does. It does lead you to the same behavioral patterns that would, that a crackhead would have, and it makes you dependent on it, and you rely on that to deal with your stress.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You're not dealing with the spiritual issue, and that's why I don't like them pushing. I don't like them pushing weed so easily. Like,
And it's also, it tricks you in so many ways because, a lot of people argue and say that it's a social thing. It's like it brings people together. But it brings people together for the wrong reasons because you like someone basically because they share a habit that you do. It's like, oh yeah, I don't even know this guy and we're passing it around and we're getting along and we're smoking weed together. And I get that that's like a communal kind of vibe. But it tricks you because you end up like liking them for the wrong reasons and you never really know why you like them. It's just because we smoke weed together. It's like, and like he said, like my memory definitely... You know what it is that weed keeps you in your imagination. It makes, as a creative person too, I'd love to smoke weed and then create and get in my imagination and create stuff. But the reason why I would forget things so much, I think, is because I was in my head all the time. I wasn't able to be present because I would smoke it, I'd be high, and I'd be like, whoa, I'd be thinking somewhere else, whether it's the past or the future or thinking about something, and that was stealing me away from being present. So whatever happened in the present, I'm like, shit, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I lost my keys. Or not lost them, but
Oh, man.
because you're like you said, because you're in your imagination, you're high, and you're thinking all this stuff. You set your keys down in a place where you don't normally set it, or your wallet, and then you're like, where the hell are my keys? And
Yeah, it robs you of being
happens all
self-aware.
the time because you're not
I
paying
lost
attention.
multiple phones, keys, wallets, all kind of stuff.
I would
And
forget if
don't
I
do that
locked
anymore.
doors, and I would.
No more locked doors.
Yeah, it would feel like I was getting OCD because I would have to go back. I remember driving back. I leave my house and then drive back to make sure. It's like, damn, I can't remember if I locked my door or not. Did I lock my door?
Lock your
Yeah.
door.
Yeah. No more locked doors. And so I
No
had
more
to go
locked
back.
doors. And weed was always an excuse that was very acceptable for people. I'm like, man, I don't smoke weed. And they're like, ah. It became funny and it was like an excuse. But now that I don't smoke weed, I don't have that excuse anymore. So if I lose something or anything, it's on me. Can't blame the weed.
Yeah, like Danny says, I'd smoke and get into my head more often. All the
Yeah.
time. That's what it does. That's why it feels good when you're creative, because it feels like you're getting all these ideas. But honestly, I can say in hindsight, as much as it gave me what I thought was more creative ideas, I also had a hard time sticking to one idea.
Yeah.
I'd have like a million things I'd be thinking about.
I
So-
find myself lost in how great things sounded as opposed to being productive.
Yeah.
You think that you're being productive in the moment, you're making something great, and then you just sit there and wallow in that moment of whatever you're making, and you don't move on and just get the task done.
No, yeah, you definitely. It's like your body goes on pause, and you're just playing it in your mind.
Where's T Warrior at? T Warrior ain't here, is he?
Saucin', bro. Here to give smiles and I return it with hugs and bunch. Well, we send some hugs to you. Boulder Vaughn. I haven't seen that name. Welcome, buddy.
Boulder Vaughn. What's
Boulder
cracking?
Vaughn.
How bold of you to show up.
Boulder Vaughn. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, a new person.
Basic black holer. Backholer. Basic backholer. That sounds a little dark. Bong Bros. That's right. That's what I was. Bong Bro. Did I smoke enough weed to buy a house? Maybe two.
I don't even want to
crazy.
think about how much money I've spent over the years because my main money that I would spend would be on weed. Like everything. It was always, well, I gotta have weed. So yeah, I don't want to think about how much money I've spent on weed.
Like Matt was tripping out that I told him I'd be smoking up to an ounce a week. Like I would go through. I mean, an eighth used to be like would last me all week, maybe a month, because like he said, you just cherish it. Once I started, having get more money and working, especially working in the business and you're getting hookups, I was smoking like a pound every 2 months. Probably.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was just bad.
I smoked a lot of weed, but I didn't smoke an ounce a week.
Yeah, it was. And when I worked in that,
I probably smoked an eighth every 3 days.
That's crazy. When we worked in that warehouse, growing the weed, it was fucking from check-in time till check-out. It was like 12, 15-hour days. Probably smoked 10 blunts, multiple rips, and then when the concentrates came in, that was even crazier.
I never got into the concentrates.
Dude, that was a crack of
sometimes
weed.
I did a little bit, not the dabs. I'll say that, not the dabbing and all that stuff, but like I was involved with going to the first weed shop that opened up in LA. It was called the Yellow House.
The Yellow House.
And legendary. It wasn't dabs or anything like that. It was just, it wasn't even called concentrates, I don't think. It was just either hash or oil. Hash oil. And they had this one thing called Jedi Jabba Goo. And it was $90 for a gram. And it said it was 99.9% THC. And back then, like everything was just new, right? And it wasn't commercialized or anything. And so it was like, it was the real deal. There's nothing like the stuff back then I've ever seen. And if anybody was around to know about the Yellow House and the weed and stuff that they had then in LA, we'd have a connection. Because I'd be like, I know, you know what I'm talking about. Everything else now has kind of been, what's the word? It's like turned into cheese. Everything's named something like, they put this crazy name on it. And
they're all the same damn strain, and they just put a stupid name on it. Like, there really is only so many strains, and like, you can't. It's just like with wine. Like, I feel like it's just a bunch of crap where they come up with like, I smell notes of chestnut and cherries and chocolate. It's like, it's just wine. It's grapes. There's no chestnut. There's no chocolate in there.
Yeah, I ended up getting to that where I didn't want to just smoke to get high. I had to enjoy what I was smoking. And I was always just a fan of just that OG Kush.
Yeah, straight OG Master Kush.
Yeah, that's it.
That was the best, and then I could tell was different. If you could find it, which is rare, because everyone claimed to have OG Kush, but very few people had that actual plant. Because it all comes down to the mothers and the guys who actually would make these plants, and they kept that plant alive, and they would cut off clippings and sell that to you.
When I was probably 18 or 19 years old, there was this website called Overgrow, before YouTube and all that stuff, and it was this community of growers and stuff. And my mom actually allowed me to grow a couple weed plants on the balcony in their master bedroom. There was a balcony, and I would. My mom thought of it as like, oh well, it's good that you're learning about horticulture and plants, because my mom was a plant person. And she's like, I could never get you into plants, but because I was growing weed, it was like a chance for us to bond. Even though it's like, it's not good to grow weed with your son, but it was a good time. But I remember I would go on this website, Overgrow, and I would take pictures of like problems I had, and then I would get these experts would come and talk to me and tell me what to do, and they helped me out. And it wasn't huge. It was a very small community of people. Like one time I got mites, where
spider mites,
little spider mites, and they were eating the plants. And I asked what to do, and someone told me,
ladybugs.
Exactly. They said don't get chemicals and stuff and put it on there, because this is a food, it's a plant you're smoking, ingesting, so you don't want to put a bunch of crap on it. And that's the thing about these new weed shops and epidemic of selling it and commercializing is they don't care. It's about making a profit for them.
Yeah, you don't realize how much crap is in these plants you're buying. Like I told Trevor on the last stream, I'd spray it with a fungicide that was systemic, which means it gets into your central nervous system and it jacks you up. And I have to wear a full-on suit before I went to the garden. Just bad stuff. And then
Come into the garden.
Yeah, and our boss would never smoke his own product because he knew how much shit was in it.
Yeah, I got ladybugs at first, and then I got little baby praying mantises, and they took care of everything.
Yeah, natural, anti-pesticides. You get a predator that will eat that, but is not interested in the weed.
And I think that approach, there's like a fundamentally functioning, like that applies to so many different things, because if you think about viruses and problems, right? I think that's something that's wrong with the world, is that when there's a problem, they find a solution that works temporarily, but it creates another problem. As opposed to in nature, I think that there's always some way to nip that problem the right way, where you're not creating a new problem. You know what I'm saying? Like the problem nowadays with health and everything is
Like
that
antibiotics.
They give you medicine. and all that
Overusing it creates bacteria that's more resistant, and then you have to do more and more, and it's like a
Because
never ending.
with like the bug thing with plants is if they have a pest issue, then they end up getting pesticides and stuff like that and killing the bugs, and then over time the bugs get adapt to it.
Exactly.
And then the bugs actually get mutated and get bigger and stronger because they're immune to it. And then you got to get more, and then they're always changing, and then so you're changing the.
It's like that grabbing the broomstick where you're like one-upping each other and just never stops one-upping.
Exactly. As opposed to being able to find the right thing. Well, what's the predator of this bug, and what's going to kill it?
Yeah, it doesn't want to eat your weed plant.
Yeah, and I think that there's going to be something. Life would be better and more natural and healthier if there was a way to do the same exact thing with, like, say the COVID-19 or whatever viruses there are. Because who knows? Maybe this COVID-19 thing came out of nowhere because of all the bull crap that's added to things, and the medical. It's like a cocktail. You're creating all these different things, and it's mutating.
It's like the bubble boy idea that when you shelter your kid, they have a weaker immune system because they're not eating dirt and playing around in the mud. And you have to. I mean, we have bacteria all over us. Like it's bacteria in our gut. Like without bacteria, we wouldn't be able to survive. We're covered in it. Our entire gut. It's actually your gut has its own nervous system, and it's probably more important than your central nervous system.
I had some friends that did this diet. There was a whole gut reconstructive diet thing where they wouldn't eat. I remember exactly what it was, but I remember that they couldn't eat anything, and then at the end of it, they had to just start with this soup, and it just totally reformatted.
Yeah, like E. coli. That's one of the biggest natural gut bacteria that we should have. So when people get E. coli poisoning, it's because their immune system's so weak.
E. coli.
Yeah, they fall sick to a bug that they should already be friends with. It should be working in your system, but you're missing it, so you get sick from it. Which is so.
What are these people talking about?
They're talking about I want to see a montage of ladybugs terrorizing mites. He's like, I like the ladybug idea. You can mail order them. Yeah, here's a few tips. What's up, Blacktoria? If you're growing hydro, the recipe we had, which if you're a weed head, you'll understand how much weed it is to grow 2 pounds per light. So that was my boss's claim to fame in LA. Was that he figured out how to grow 2 pounds per light, which is huge. Basically, 5.7 is your pH. Like one guy said here, you don't overwater it, you don't overnutrient it. We probably keep the nutrients, if I remember right, 300 to 400 when they're like adolescents. About 800, 900 when they're adults, and then if we pushed it, we'd let it. We feed them at maybe 1,100, 1,200 parts per million, sometimes 15. But less is more. You kind of get them used to it, and then stick to your schedule. You have to water at the same time all the time. Like it's important that way they get used to it, and just spend a lot of time there. But it's crazy, like all the little details that you can screw with and ruin the plant's his growth. And then light. As they grow, what I would do is you start trimming more and more leaves away and get the light to penetrate. They don't need as much, and you'll watch those buds just grow, especially the lower ones. They'll just start to get fatter, and if you don't give it light, it's all fluff, it's trash.
Weed is a very interesting plant because there's no other plant like it. It's actually a flower, and I guess the term weed came from the definition of a weed is just an unwanted plant. And I didn't know that until I found out.
Yeah, they're very hardy. They grow in tough conditions.
Because weeds that are like usually growing in your yard or something like that, they're the standard weed. Those aren't flowers. They don't bloom.
Like dandelions, that's a weed.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not a flower connoisseur. I know some stuff, but I know that weed is a very amazing plant, and I think God said all seed-bearing plants should be used. So I think, like I was saying, heroin, cocaine, whatever, but cocaine is still created some way. But something that's made, comes from the ground and unaltered, and it's just, I think that there are purposes for these things that we still haven't known about, because everything that's in medicine is a synthetic version of what's in nature.
Yeah, or it's an outright you know, like you said, cocaine has to be extracted and concentrated, but like weed is just the weed. You can feed it differently to make them more potent. You know, like the percentages now, the weed that we have now is nothing like what they smoked in the 70s.
Yeah.
But like that's different. Weed would be different than cocaine because you're not trying to extract it.
Because like there's like I would think like back in the day, like, you know, the cowboys and Indians or whatever, when you had to really survive, and when you were sick or something like that, it's like all these natural drugs could be used for something, especially if you ingest it, if it's microdosing, if you're taking the right amount or whatever. Like, you know, it's not just to get like wasted or high or something.
You've done shrooms?
I'm not gonna say what I've done because, you know, I'm gonna keep it. To,
I've done
I'm gonna
shrooms.
keep it to weed right now.
Shrooms are interesting. It you can have some good. It's very dependent on your environment.
You know that's food poisoning.
Shrooms?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is that it's poisoning you because you're
It's poison, and that's why you
tripping out.
tripping out.
Same thing with
Unknown
Oh, we
caller.
got a call.
Oh, look at that.
From
Black stepdad.
What's up, Black Stepdad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the word?
What's going on, guys?
Nothing much. How you doing, buddy?
He's talking about drugs and all kind of stuff, man.
Oh, there you go.
Cheech and Chong.
Chillin'. Hey, I was listening to some podcast earlier this week, and this guy had mentioned this bill called the AB5 bill. I was wondering if you guys ever heard about that.
The AB5?
A is in Apple, B is in Bob. AB5 bill.
No. What's the bill about?
What it pretty much does is people that do Uber and Postmates, all those side jobs, all those people are pretty much, if they get hired through Uber, they have to become full-time employees for them. They're no longer contracted.
Yeah, that was what Uber was trying to avoid because they don't want to have to carry the liability and have to get workers' comp and things like that. Which I agree. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a trade-off. Like I took jobs where they didn't have benefits, and it's my choice to do that. They shouldn't have to force the company to get benefits.
They're trying to. I have a buddy who does Airbnb and stuff, and he was telling me about. I don't do Airbnb or Uber, so I'm not in that world. But he was telling me about like, you know, regulations and stuff now where he can't make as much money, and he's limited to certain things, to having certain, you know, amounts that he can do. I think that's all crap, man. I think we should be able to have small businesses and work independently, because they're eliminating the whole independent contractor thing now. Now as a musician, right, I could get hired from somebody to go sing. Like I sang with this artist named ZZ Ward, right, and I was just a hired singer to come sing with her, right, and I had to fill out this W-9 and become an employee, and it's bullcrap, man. Like it should not be that way. It should be I should be able to work with who I want to work with.
They were talking to a musician who was saying the exact same thing, that he's got before he used to write a check for a bass player for like $200, but now he's got to fill out all these forms. He's got to hire a company. In the long run, he ends up losing money.
Yeah, they make it really hard to be a small business owner. And I don't even know how many regulations there are, but I know that requiring someone who's just starting out to have all this stuff like workers' comp and health insurance, whatever it might be, it's like let people grow into a business. You know, like it shouldn't be that complicated, and you can't just expect someone to be able to do what a giant company like Walmart can do. Like obviously at that level, they can afford to offer some benefits if they want to, but it should be it's a choice. Like if you want to work for them, hey, that's on you. They don't have to give you that. Like I took a job with a landscape company because I want to learn about landscaping and drive heavy machinery, and they told me you're not going to get anything, and I said that's fine. Like I want the experience. I'll take the risk of if I get hurt. All I got is workers' comp, and that's fine by me.
I think because people are such victims in life nowadays that they are and so entitled that it's just ruining our chance to be free, really free. Where it's like, you know, you get what you agree to. You know, anytime I got screwed in a contract, I could look back and blame everybody that was involved, my lawyers or whatever. And at the end of the day, I know deep down it falls on me because I didn't have the awareness. I didn't know, and now that I know certain things, it's like I can't blame, you know, and they're trying to make it so easy for people to just, you know, have to pick all or nothing with certain
Not have-
situations. There's no
and
like
not have a certain sense of responsibility.
exactly, and the freedom to be like, well, I'll work for this person and I'll work for this person, and because like I'm delegating and deciding what I need from certain situations. Like I might need a one-off, check from this person, but I might want to work here for the benefits they have or whatever it is. Like multiple things. It's too complicated.
Yeah, it's exactly what you guys were saying. That a lot of these people that do these jobs, they choose to do that because for the flexible schedule.
Exactly. It's on your ass. If you want to take it, then be a grown up, and that's a deal you made. Like you don't cry and try to have a big daddy government step in and force their hands.
And what I think is too is it's going to cater to a lot of the illegal immigrants that are out here, especially you guys out here in LA.
Are you calling me illegal?
And I don't know. Are you? Let me see.
I got my papers.
All right. What about you, Trevor?
I'm Irish, so I'm an Irish American.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think it's going to cater more to them. They're going to try to take advantage of that still. Oh, because they can't find a regular paying job, they have to look for a job like that.
Yeah, it just involves the government in our lives, and they're already over involved. They take too much money from us. The income tax is illegal. Like if people did the math on how much we get just off sales tax and the gas tax alone, that's billions upon billions of dollars. And if it was spent right and managed correctly, there's plenty of money to go around and fix stuff. But it's mismanaged, and people don't. It's government's the issue. It's too big, too big.
Did you guys see what was in the details of that bill they're trying to pass? The $3 trillion one.
6666.
The Satan one?
No, the one that Nancy Pelosi just tried to do.
Oh, the new stimulus one?
Yeah.
No, but I'm sure there's some nonsense, like probably more mail-in voting securities for them, and
One of the big things that caught my attention was they can't deport any illegal immigrants if
What?
they get an essential if they can get an essential job. But I'm thinking like everything is an essential job at this point. One of these people can go and get a job at McDonald's and that's it. They're locked in.
and any job, whatever I do to make a living is essential to me. So yeah, I agree that but first of all, they have no business being here, and they have no rights, and they have no benefits. They need to get out.
Yeah.
But it's obvious now that the only reason why they're doing this and pushing for it is because the American people are not voting for Democrats anymore. And so they need to prey on the young kids with the cool factors of celebrities and influence to, make them think that it's cool. And then they got to get the illegal people because they have an incentive to, want that. It's all bullcrap.
Yeah, I mean, they get so much money and so many benefits with our tax money going to somebody who broke the law, and people think that you're cold-hearted for being firm on it.
They reel these people in by giving them free things.
Yeah, it's a bribe.
Come over here, you guys you get an apartment, you can get an iPhone, and hey, you can also you'll be able to vote. That racist president we have. Come over here and do this and that. You'll be able to vote that president now.
That's what like.
And the poor people that don't know any better.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson had a segment a while back that said it perfectly, that what they've been doing is building a voter base on with illegal immigrants, with the minority communities, off hate, anger, and blaming white people, and blaming anybody for their problems, never taking accountability, because what's going to happen is if they get their way, they will stay in power basically forever, because they're going to have so many people voting for them that were bought off that don't even understand they're voting against their best interests. And that's what's really at stake here. If the Republicans can't turn this around, and there's a lot of rats in that party too, but if they're the last good party we have, and if they can't stop this, we're done. Like, it'll be Democrat in power forever.
But on the flip side, it's the same way for the Democrats. I feel like the Democrats are very close to losing the Democratic Party forever. But at the same time, I noticed that there's a lot of people, like, because politics has become more of a cultural kind of shift in, like, young people being involved in stuff. there's people that are, it's like cool to switch over to being Republican, and I think that it's easy, it's gonna be start to be look like it's easy. Like there's these fake Republicans out there who are just co-writing it because it's like maybe if they're black, they're like, oh, you know, they get more exposure and media attention because it's like, oh, a rarity, they're like a black conservative, and they're used as this face.
Yeah,
And
wave
then-
riders.
But they're really just they're really they really are conservative.
Every time I see any of these videos of like the rallies that are going on, I'm like, how can we know that some of these people are actual nurses? Just
Right.
because they said it, like, how can we really know that anybody is really behind it? And of course, it's going to be just like the left. There are going to be those snakes in the grass on the Republican side. You can never truly know.
Well, yes, it's just it's the whole point. Is like these. It's like with Jesse, like, and I've told like Trevor how I feel about it. It's you can't trust anybody that still has those emotions. You know, women have them naturally, so you always gotta be cautious with women in general. But these men, you know, they're overly emotional. I don't care if they say they're conservative or they're pro Second Amendment. That emotion leaves the door open for them to betray you and vote against what's best for this country because they're gonna fall for emotional arguments, and that's what we're facing.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't just vote for Trump because he's Republican. Like he's just our best shot logically.
Well, at the end of the day, for me, it's like it comes down to the morality, you know, and right and wrong of what is like, you know, morally right, and also the religion. You know, like that's one thing I like about Trump is that Trump he prays in the White House. He like there's such an attack on what's right and what's wrong, and you know they skew it and flip it around and they try to say that abortion is about the choice of somebody when the reality is the cold truth deep down is that you're killing a human being. You know, like certain things like that. That's just like the Rhino Republicans. They're Republican by name, but that's it.
And just what's funnier too is that a lot of the Hispanic culture is going down the same route that the black people are.
Oh yeah, they're so hateful, and that's like me and you can relate because you're Mexican, and half my family's Hispanic and mixed, you know, Mexicans, and I got some black family and Central American, and most of them got lots of anger. They're angry people.
But it's funny too, Hispanics, we're generally raised with conservative values. You're gonna work for everything.
They are, but
you know, they have us cleaning the house by the time we start walking. You know.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like a double-edged sword. Like they are, but then they're babied and taught to be subject to mama, and mother knows best.
Exactly.
And it makes them weak. So yeah, they might have good work ethic, but they're illogical.
Yeah, and it's like you guys are crazy. Like I'm pretty sure your parents not raise you to play victim, because my parents did it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny because I told Trevor like my mom she didn't trust her own kind. At the same time that she was a proud American, she said she would never go back to El Salvador. She loved America, so she embraced it the right way. But she also would fall for these emotional arguments that would make white Christian men look bad. But she also had no trust for her own people. She didn't like doing business with Salvadorians, or Mexicans, or any Hispanics because she at least had the sense to notice like, man, these people are way too emotional. They're always bitching and complaining. But she just still couldn't overcome that last bit of emotion herself.
And it's the same ones that, like, I know you know the word, the paisa one, you know, the little chunti-ass one?
Yeah, chuntis, chuntaro.
Yeah, it's them. They're the ones that are giving us the bad rep.
I noticed too, like, you know, certain groups of people, there are people in every ethnicity group that are the bad example, right? And I think a lot of people, because they identify with their particular ethnicity group, that they're afraid to look at their group. Like for me, I don't associate myself with, because I'm white, like white people are my people, you know? But I think that a lot of other people do that. And so their ego gets in the way, and they can't hear any criticism of their own people, and they feel like they're betraying or not honoring their culture or whatever when they just are honest and say like the real truth about what's happening. That especially if it's from someone that's a different ethnicity than them, they have to defend it, and they're not able to be honest. And I'm hopeful that people could just look at everyone as an individual, like take the criticism, you know, and be like, dang, that's true, you know, like. We need to correct that and be an influence, because I think if every ethnicity and group or whatever was able to like just say the truth about your group, but it's like at the same time, like nobody is responsible for what other people do, but the media and people associate with their group so much that it's like you can't have that identity and ego inside of it that's going to make you want to defend people, especially people that you don't even know. Like, I understand more so if it's your family or something, and you're like, hey, don't talk about my family like that. Like, even then, it's like, just be honest. But yeah,
don't. What everyone's doing is identifying with skin color or ethnicity above character and values.
The
Like what Jesse
culture.
says. Yeah, they don't identify with morals and character. Like if that was my brother who was trespassing and up to no good, it'd be tragic. I'd be sad that he got shot. But if I saw him in that same position, I'd be like, what the hell was he doing? Like he's an idiot. It is what it is. Like I used to make excuses, but now I don't. Like we all get what we deserve, in the sense that if we keep living wrong, it's bad things are bound to happen to us. And if you really love somebody and you want them to get better, if you want them to get better, you'll be honest about recognizing those patterns. And people shouldn't be scared to hear about the patterns. Like blacks commit violent crime against whites 10-1, Hispanics I think like 6-1. But no one wants to talk about that pattern. And if you do mention that pattern, you're a racist for calling it out.
Yeah. Oh, you're not Mexican. What?
Yeah, then you're out of the club. It's like, no, I have every right to notice that pattern, because half of those people share my ethnic background, and I'm not going to make excuses for that behavior.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's either right or wrong.
In the valley, you got people people driving around with the Mexican flag up and bumping all their corridos. It's like, if you like Mexico so much, go back. It's right down, it's like 4 hours away.
That's another thing, man, that's a trip, is that immigrants come here from other countries, like parading their country here and wanting to change our laws. Like, they'll come from a communistic kind of socialistic mentality place, but they're not staying there. So obviously they want to come to America for some reason. But then once they're here, they want to like push their country onto America, and it's like, why? I just don't understand. Like, I would feel weird to go to some other country and then push what I would want their country to be. I would feel out of place. It's like going to a friend's house.
If you were to go to another country and go around waving the American flag, you would be considered an invader.
Exactly. Like, I would never go to.
They're considered as asylums and all that.
I would never go to a friend's house for dinner and then start talking about how my parents' food is so much better.
Yeah, trying to rearrange our house.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, wow, I'm just grateful that you guys are feeding me, that I'm here, and I'm gonna appreciate what they're cooking. And if I stayed there long enough and then ended up living at that house, I would still be grateful. Like, I would never just try to. I don't know, man. I don't know how. It's just crazy how people really see this and believe it, and they try to manipulate it to where if you say anything about it, you're racist. How dare you? Oh, it's just your privilege. But it's true. Like, why aren't people, if people love their country so much, why aren't they staying in their country and trying to make it better and be great like America? If everyone did that, like, then the world would be better. Like, that's what a true globalist should be, is somebody who takes some pride in their own community, because it really starts like a fractal. You start in your home, the family, you make that great, right? And then once you make the family great, you watch out for your neighborhood, make that great, and then you have your community, and then you have your county, your state, and it grows out, and you can't worry about space until you worry about the world. You can't worry about the world until you worry about your country, and you have to, each one by one. You can't just.
It starts in the home.
Exactly.
Well, you want to change the world? Have children and raise them to be right, moral, and just, and have character. And don't make excuses for any wrongdoing.
And get married and have children. Don't just have children and then be upset and bitter because you have a bunch of responsibilities that you brought into yourself from your own actions.
Yeah, the kids owe you nothing. You chose to have kids. Your job now is to raise them, and you can never hold it against them that, I raised you. I paid for your food. It's like, you had me. That's your job.
Yeah, but nowadays people just think it's like having kids is a burden. Oh, you're gonna regret it. They take up all your time. I'm like, no shit, they do.
Yeah, man, it's
have you ever not been around a kid?
Yeah, everyone should have the same idea of make your country great again. Everyone, like Salvadorians, go make your country great. Don't come here and try and make America like Salvador.
But there are people too who have come here and love America and are appreciative. Like, I Uber all the time, and I meet a lot of immigrants that come here, and they agree with me, you know, like they came from a place of, you know, poverty and from a different country, and they like really value America and what it stands for and the freedoms we have, and so like I think that if you're gonna like, it's like if you go to your friend's house, man, praise their food and be appreciative and be thankful for it. Like, wow, you're making different food than my mom makes, you know?
Yeah.
So Omar.
Anyway.
Yeah. Now that you're, you know, you've woken up and you've forgiven your parents, are you ready to raise your kids the right way and not make excuses for them?
Yeah. I grew up with my mom and my dad, and my dad was always in the picture. He was the worker, you know, raising 5 boys, and then he had to take care of my mom, and with a roof over our head. My mom only started working when I started school. So growing up, my dad was always there. He always listened to my dad. You know, he was the man of the house, and he was a good example. He wasn't very emotional towards us, which I see now, which is a good thing. You know, like he would. I was the youngest, so he would bathe me for about like 5 minutes, and that's it. You know. But yeah, I'm ready to take that plunge.
Good, man. Yeah, just
I know what it takes. You know, it's not. To me, it doesn't seem difficult. It's gonna come natural to you, I think.
That's how I look at it now. Like when people complain about this, like, you know, oh, it's so hard. Like I don't, you know, and they'll say like, well, you don't have kids, you don't know. It's like, well, Jesus didn't have kids either, but he knew a lot. So I think we can know what to do because, like Matt said in the chat, like, and Jesse's mentioned with his biblical question, we don't raise them, but our example is what raises them. It's God living through us and His love coming through us. And if we let that love come through 100%, then the kid will be just fine because he'll see how to behave, how to act, and how to be a good man or a good woman.
Exactly. You know, my dad had us cleaning the house every weekend, and knowing that we had to start working, like there was no choice. Either you go to work or you go to school.
Exactly. And then when you're 18, get the hell out of the house.
Yeah, he's like, once you start working, you can do whatever you want because you're working on. I started working when I was about 16. So it was never like, I get it. I totally get what it takes to be a father.
Are you going to save for your kids' college education?
No.
Good.
We talked about that last time.
Yeah, don't be a beta.
Yeah, fuck that. Oops.
Oops.
Anyway, I just want to talk about that real quick.
Well, dude, thanks for calling in, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Omar.
Yeah, man, anytime.
Black step there.
I guess what they say is true.
What's that?
How old and dangerous behind the wheel, old people can still serve a purpose. You know that's from?
Old people can still serve a purpose?
What I just said.
Adam Sandler?
Ah, come on, bro.
Say it again.
Although slow and dangerous behind the wheel, I guess what they say isn't true. Old people can still serve a purpose. Somebody in the chat knows.
I don't know.
They're gonna say it.
If anyone knows the answer to where that's from,
You know, it's classic.
you can only be an example as a father or a mother. Exactly. Johnny McWong, your light should shine. Exactly. You don't have to. You shouldn't have to force it.
I remember knowing people when I was a kid, like real young too. I would notice different families of friends that I'd go to their houses and be able to see the difference. And there was this inspiration and longing to want whatever they had in their dynamic of family that was missing, you know? I could see it as a kid. And it made me want to be that way. So I know that if my own parents were, you know, not crapping on my parents, because my parents did a lot of wonderful, great things. But there are imperfections there, you know? And the way they were is going to create the way I am. Not what they talk about, not what they say, anything about that. It's who they're being, and you get to see the example because there's something to watching your parents and seeing it and being inspired by it and wanting to be like them because you know deep down in your heart that that's right and that's great, you know? But now they're using celebrities to try to inspire the world and people and make them feel like, oh, I want to be like that guy. And then they steer you wrong. You know, they'll bait you in with this like cool aesthetic, but then who they're being, and you know, it's just totally wrong.
They're like Pied Pipers. They just pay them to like follow me and do what I do. And it's just nuts. Like celebrities are very they're manipulative, and you should be very careful.
You mean you don't trust the police?
In my business, you don't trust anybody.
Exactly. Not better, but bitter. Thou shalt not covet.
That was also, that line was from Dumb and Dumber.
That's where it's from?
Remember he's pushing the cart, he got robbed by her, and he's like, wow. He's like, would you mind watching my stuff while I go break $1?
Yes, old people do serve a purpose.
Exactly.
Raymond, Epstein's ghost, chilling here without any Marcus Jones. Yeah, Marcus Jones is a hater. Someone said that they think Marcus Jones is just Maze. And she just has another profile so she can talk that crap.
I doubt it.
They get paid to impersonate others. Can't be normal. Exactly, like he talked about it. You can't trust somebody who spends their whole life pretending to be somebody else.
Yeah, actors especially. And a lot of people in entertainment are actors, because musicians and stuff, they're actors too, because they create this brand and stigma, and they only allow you to see what they want you to see so they can come across a certain way. And I've learned to see through it, but they seduce people into loving what they look like from the outside, and then they steer them wrong. And I'm at a point now in my life where I just want to really continue to love what's right and find the truth, because the truth doesn't care, and the truth is, you know. And I just want to find that, and I'm not afraid anymore of risking my plans and losing what I think I want in my life, you know, because I always thought I wanted to, you know, be famous and perform around everywhere and have a lot of money and get attention and all those kind of things. And I realized that because I wanted that, it was blinding me about seeing and discerning people and situations and things in my life, because I just wanted that. And even though I felt like I had the intentions, like, oh, if I do get those things, I'm going to do good for the world and stuff like that, you're fooling yourself. Because at the end of the day, I want to just love what's right and allow that to be my guide to being able to open doorways that I could never plan and never imagine. And, you know, I'm a fan of believing that I'm going to get what I deserve, you know. And what do I deserve? I deserve what I get. And I mean that in the sense of, you know, life is about cause and effect, you know. And wherever I'm going to be at in my life, it's because of something I did or something someone else did. So it's up to me to have the awareness to know what I'm doing, and to have the awareness to see what other people are doing around me, so that I know who I'm going to gravitate towards and what kind of people I want in my life. Because there was a long time where I was everybody's friend. And I am everybody's friend, but because I was everyone's friend, I thought and assumed that they were like me and that they were my friend too. But I've learned that the more I question things and ask questions and, you know, say what I think and not being angry about it, it's exposing the anger in other people and that they're not my friend. And it's an assumption, you know. So I'm grateful to be able to have the eyes to be able to see that now, so that I can see who my enemies are. And just because they're my enemies, it doesn't mean that I hate them or that I'm against them. It just means that I don't accept certain things as right. And I am a fan of people that can disagree, have a totally different thought process, but they're able to listen to what I have to say. Because I'm that way. I'll listen to what anybody has to say, and I'm not going to, like, you know, make personal attacks on them and be rude or anything like that. But I'm going to, you know, argue and debate my point about why I think what it is. And a friend doesn't have to be, you know, oh, we agree on everything together, so therefore we're friends. No, a friend means that I'm not going to give up on you as a person, and I'm not going to give up on you by saying the truth and what I think that's going to be what I would want for myself. You know, I'm not going to, like, want something for someone else by putting myself in their shoes and thinking, well, if that were me, then I would want that, because then you get lost. Like, there's only one way, you know, there's really only one way. And in that gray area, you think that there's so many ways and every person has a different way, but it's not. It's like music. There's only one way to create harmony, and that's to harmonize.
There's order to life.
Exactly.
Woodchuck says this pretty well. I think you might like it. It says, the hardest thing I ever had to tell my mother was, you raised me well enough to know that you could have done a better job. Or you could have done better.
That's good.
And Danny C says, how do you deal with that, Trevor, with only a few true gems of people in LA?
Just being grateful for the few true gems that I have. and figuring out, realizing that I can't depend on anybody, and that's okay, because it's so easy to feel like, oh, I'm lonely, or I need support, or I wanna, win with other people. I wanna get, be successful with other people. But at the end of the day, it's all bull. At the end of the day, I have to rely on myself and God, and that's it. And everything, once I accept that and know that, and I embrace it, then everything else is in addition to that, and I'm grateful for it. I don't know how to explain it, but
I think, like he says, like, I respect you if you can hold your ground and not hate me for holding my ground. You can be a socialist, Bernie supporter, and think that that's the right way for people to live, but I'm never gonna agree with you on that, and I won't hate you for you feeling that way, and you shouldn't hate me. But most people, they can only stay peaceable for so long, and then they start attacking you and punching at you and trying to tear you down, and like he's experienced, they just turn on you and then trash talk you, and then they think they're full of love, which is crazy. Like he showed me a documentary the other night about the guy that they made the Uncle Ruckus character on. He's a black musician.
I didn't show him. We stumbled across it on YouTube, because I was on YouTube going down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And we found this guy. I forget his name, but
yeah, he's a black musician in the South who befriended a clan dragon from a local KKK chapter.
Yeah, and he came to that because he wanted to figure out why his community of black people were hated so much, and he just was a person that was wondering why, right? And so he went and met with the guy and talked to him, and they didn't agree on anything, but he said some story about like hearing a noise while they were talking and met up, and for the first time, and they heard this noise and each one of them thought that it was one of them like planning to like do something and hurt each other or whatever, and then they realized that it was the ice bucket in the fridge, and because that happened, and then they laughed together, realizing that we were both idiots and we were all wrong, thinking and assuming it, and supposedly they just became friends because they're totally different people, right? They totally different ideologies, different beliefs. The black guy didn't agree with anything that he did.
He said some things he can see the logic in, but not everything.
But it's just interesting because it seems like that's so far gone that because it's like nowadays they'll say that being a Black Panther and being a part of a group like that is okay, right? But then they'll be like, oh, Ku Klux Klan is horrible, and it feels weird to even talk about this stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of being a part of any group or any kind of hate towards anybody. I think everybody should have love, and if you don't love everybody, then you don't love anybody. Like if you hate one person, that means that you have hate in you. And it's okay to disagree and see certain things, but I think the best thing is to talk it out and give the opportunity for the other person to, present what they believe and why. Because as long as people wear their heart on their sleeve and they are genuine in expressing themselves, people can listen. I think society would be such a better place to be more involved and advanced spiritually if people did that. And technology.
Yeah, this guy over time they became best friends. And that black guy would go to the Klan rallies, and then that Grand Dragon would go to his music shows. And what the white guy said it best. I guess he came to the black man's house for an interview, and he told the CNN reporter that what they had, even though they disagreed on some major things, what he had for the black man and what the black man had for him was respect for one another, and they didn't demean anyone for having those positions. They just listened. They truly just listened and heard each other out. And that mutual respect was so powerful that guy ended up leaving the Klan.
And if you think about it, right? If you find yourself hanging out with a different group of people, different ethnicities, and me, right? I've been in a lot of black community circles because I make music, and sometimes I'd find myself feeling afraid to, I'd hold back on what I really thought about things because I didn't want to offend somebody. I didn't want to hurt their feelings, or I didn't want to come across as a racist or whatever it is, right? And now looking back, it's like that mentality is obvious that you treat people differently based off the color of their skin, right? And I'm in a place now where it's like, I don't care what color you are, who you are, I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to share what I think and believe, right? And I think that is so much more powerful because the right people will be added to your life. And you won't have to feel like walking on eggshells around them or treating them any kind of different way. It's like you don't have, it's like there's extremes and then there's like non-extremes, but at the end of the day, it's that root of judgment and fear and anger and hatred or whatever it is. And even if you're uncomfortable, right, and you don't think that you hate something, you're uncomfortable. And what is that? That's because you probably you have hatred for yourself that you can't articulate and be free in expressing yourself to somebody, of a different race or whatever it is. And that deep down, it's still the same spirit. It doesn't mean you have to go killing people or, there's different levels and stuff like that. But I think most people's hatred comes towards themselves and they don't even know it because they're afraid to deal with something, or they're afraid. Like for me, I used to be afraid to see enemies, who my enemies were, because I didn't want to believe that I could have enemies. I wanted everyone to like me. So now it's like I'm thankful that I can see and discern who my enemies are. Like I said, I don't hate them, but I could recognize who they serve. What spirit they serve.
Yeah, like that guy, the black guy in that documentary with the KKK. He's around people who are dropping the N-bomb and sharing their point of views openly. They're not holding back. And if he had gotten emotional about hearing those things, and if he took that personally and thought they were talking about him, none of his friendship would have happened, or the changes in his friend, the guy who left the Klan. So it's important that no matter what you hear someone say or what they believe, you shouldn't feel anything. You shouldn't be moved at all. Let them say whatever they want or curse how they want. But just listen to them, because that's the only problem is you're taking it personal. If you feel uncomfortable, it's your problem, not the other person. Don't try and tell them to stop this or don't say that. Let them be and hear them out, and then you'll see people change. I think people let TV and the news convince them that we are all mixed up here. It's not like that. So Black Torah is saying that on the whole, people tend to segregate naturally. I think they do. Muhammad Ali said the same thing. Blue Jays run with Blue Jays and Robins run with Robins. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's why you have little Ethiopia and Chinatown. And, it's just natural for people to stick to their own kind. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think that there should be the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
That's all. You're not automatically racist. You're not against anything, but there is I'm a fan of the freedom even to discriminate if that's what you want to do. It's like if it's your business, if it's your life, and you want to live it the way you want to live, even if you want to be hateful, you're free to do that. As long as you're not, there should be laws, of course, where if you commit crimes and hurt anybody or do anything violent, there's repercussions. And I think, now, but they're letting all these felons out and stuff, so the repercussions are actually not turning so bad. So it's such a backwards thing. But I think people should, I'm a fan of freedom, we should be able to discriminate. If I don't want to eat chocolate ice cream and I want to get strawberry ice cream, I should be able to. It doesn't mean that I hate chocolate ice cream. It means maybe some other day I'll have chocolate ice cream.
What do you think do you believe that there's such a thing as a hate crime?
No, I think there's such a thing as crime.
Right. Why do you think they call it hate crime?
Because they want to divide people and get people all riled up emotionally to associate and get some kind of ideology from it, like just the Jussie Smollett thing.
Yeah, it's manipulation.
At the end of the day, even that wasn't a hate crime, even though he wrapped it up into race and tried to blame things. The crime was that he lied. He lied about a hate crime.
Yeah, and I want to say that even though you tell he obviously hates whites, I'm not going to fall for that. Well, now he did a hate crime against white people by lying. It's just a crime. He lied. He falsified a police report.
Yeah, he had them spend a whole bunch of money for nothing, and he should pay for that.
There's no such thing as a hate crime.
But I'm also not gonna rack up in my brain and keep score and tie Jussie Smollett to black people. In this business, I've worked with a lot of black people, and I've been screwed over by a lot of black people. But I've never once assumed and told anybody or thought to myself it's because they are black. It's at the end of the day, it's going to be my fault because I didn't have the awareness to see the types of people I was around. Because I know great people, of all races, So I'll never, just attack a whole group or have a thought process until it's revealed individually, Until somebody shows me who they are, then I'll go, oh, okay.
Yeah, you can talk about patterns in groups. Obviously, the fact that it's a statistic proves that it's not all, but most. But people think that because you notice these patterns, like the 10-to-1 crime rate of black on white crime, that you're putting them in a box. It's a pattern. Period.
Yeah, a lot of people, like if you do talk about statistics of a big group as a whole and the numbers, right? If someone's a part of that group, they take it personal and they think that you're talking about them and they have to defend themselves. But that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like you should be able to criticize and say things that are true as long as you know that they're not coming from a hateful place and they're just being honest. Because that's the only way people will be able to grow. Like, when people talk about white people, I don't take it personal. I see it. I see that there isn't this attack on white people these days and they're hated for all kind of things. Nobody wants to claim their whiteness if they're a mixed race,
Yeah,
But there's some privilege to it.
He's a great point. If white privilege is real, why do mixed race kids always identify with the minority side?
Yeah, why wouldn't they identify with the privileged side and get that privilege?
Exactly. Like, who was that rapper that... But you got Drake, you got even Chance the Rapper's light skin. But look at me, when I was angry, I didn't identify with the white side of privilege. I identified with the Hispanic side because that got me points. I would use that card.
Like, look at Sean King.
Yeah.
Sean King.
Yeah, that was the one.
Sean King is absolutely white. He looks like
total white
He
boy.
looks like Bubba Ray Dudley. Why isn't he claiming his whiteness? If there's so much privilege in it, because there's not. It's because he gets to co-ride the wave of being a victim.
He's somebody now because he's a
fighting
black
and fighting for equality when he's really doing the opposite. He's not fighting for equality. He's dividing and he's spreading lies. And he's actually white. He's fully white.
Dude, Sean King is the whitest guy ever. I've had that kind of haircut. When I was in my angry Latino phase, I would go to the barber where all my homies went, and they would give you that lineup, the Caesar cut, where it's just like the straight line
Caesar
across.
cut.
And it changes everything. When you get that straight line with that high fade, you look different. Like, it does something. And then if I took this mustache down and made a little pencil thin mustache and kept a little pencil line here, I can be like, yeah, dog, I'm a mixed race.
You could.
It looks like
Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah, she got a little tan, had the kinky hair.
You don't see anybody turning white and then, trying to absorb this privilege,
Exactly. No one wants to be white in a world that hates white people. Like Jesse says, no one is more hated
Well, we got a call.
than the white man.
Call from Black Victoria.
Black Toria, you're on the air.
Everybody's using it. We'll fix your credit.
Come on down.
What's cracking?
Alright, I gotta let the song play. Oh my god, y'all are going in on the blacks tonight. And the
Are we
chat
really?
is just
Does it sound like it?
the chat's cutting up on the black.
Oh, I'm not watching the chat, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh man, now I don't have a lot to say, but they keep saying credit, call in. So here I am.
What are your thoughts? Do I sound, as a black woman, do I sound like my privilege is speaking and that I'm, totally just don't know what I'm talking about?
I think that you have a different point of view just because of what you do for a living. So you get to interact with black people more often than probably some of the people in the chat, really.
Oh, yeah,
you probably
for
actually
sure.
interact with them more than I do, to be quite honest with you. But I do think you deal with a different caliber of black people, too. Like, they're just different because they all come from different parts of the world and
For sure.
the country
And a lot of
things like that,
a lot of talented people too that are successful in music and stuff like that. But at the same time, I've been around all different kinds of people, like all different classes, because it does ultimately come down to a class issue of people. But at the end of the day, the same people that are talented and successful and getting gigs and stuff like that, they still are. A lot of them come from different, like the South, or they were raised to have that kind of brainwash against white people and think that racism is this huge problem and stuff like that. And they probably weren't taught. They have that anger still, but they weren't taught that it's just hatred and anger, and that's all it is. It has nothing to do with race or anything like that,
Yeah, it's definitely a class thing because I don't know if I ever shared this with you guys, but I had joined a business club not too long ago, and Actually, I may have told Richard about it, but like,
Yeah, it was all like black folks, wasn't it?
well, yeah, and I didn't know that when I joined because it really depended on like what time of the day that you go to this particular club. And I mean, it's a place where, you know, like black politicians hang out, like, you know, people of color that are, I guess, high status. I didn't know that because, you know, the person that brought me in was not a black person. And of course, he's not going to tell me like, oh, there's a lot of black people, you'll be comfortable. He didn't say that. But what ended up happening for me was that I had the misconception that because these were black people that were a little, I guess, upper crust, however they say it, for like lack of a better term, I thought because they were in a certain economic class that maybe they were more open-minded and more conservative, you know, thinking. And silly me opened my mouth and, you know, said certain things and told them that, you know, at the end of the day, the only colors that I see, I mean, yeah, I see race, okay, fine. But the only colors that really matter right now that we all need to worry about are green and gold. You need to be worried about your money and how you're going to, you know, your economic status, I said, because that's what matters. And, you know, they kind of got upset because I told them that, you know, I am careful about who I do business with, but I'm not going to turn down a lucrative opportunity because the person is not black. I think that that's extremely foolish and it's going to hold me back. And it really is that crabs in a barrel mentality. Like they kind of, you know how they all just kind of crawl on each other and pull each other down. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, and it doesn't, in that instance, they really wanted to make it look like they were trying to help me by telling me not to do that and, you know, don't go into business with people that don't look like you.
What?
But
that's crazy.
to kind of go, right, and so I was flabbergasted, and I was like, okay, wait, no. And this was really the first time that I ever had to defend my more, like I said, more conservative views with a group of black people. I've never really had to do that before, and I didn't know these people. So anyway, you know, I was able to stand my ground in it, and the crazy thing was that what it resulted in was these high-class people resorting to, you know, doing the things that people do to Jesse, you know, calling you names and all kinds of stuff. And I remember one of the girls, she even told me, she said, well, you know, like she went into, like my skin tone and everything. So this kind of plays into that privilege that Trevor was actually talking about a minute ago.
So they got upset at you for defending your choice to be able to work with anyone, regardless of skin color?
Completely. And again, like I said, I know that a lot of that is because they don't know any better. And, you know, these are people that come from black universities where, you know, they're, you know, in fraternities and sororities and things like that, that are focused on their race. And, you know, when you get out of school, obviously those are the people that will elevate your life because you have that connection. They will get you into high places. So blackness is very important in those circles. I did not go to university. I didn't do that. I don't have that lifestyle, so I don't relate to that, and I don't need that. You know what I mean? So that was another point I was making, and I know that that upset them too because most educated people don't want to hear the truth that their education doesn't matter. You know?
That's so crazy
So,
that they
like I said,
treat you that way.
Yeah. So it was an interesting experience, but I mean, I learned a lot, and it kind of let me know, like, okay, this is what happens when you really do start to become more firm in your beliefs. Like, you're going to be tested with people that look just like you, people that maybe, you know, they have loud voices, they have a big bark but no bite, and at the end of the day, all they can do is hit me with words. You know, these people are never going to be able to hit my pocket. Like, there's no way because clearly we don't run in the same circles, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just kind of went off on a tangent. Sorry, guys.
I hear you, man. I agree.
Victoria, the chat wants to know, now that you're awake, will you date a black man?
Oh, my gosh. Okay. I don't think, he's not in the chat tonight, but one of the other guys asked me that last week. We were talking on the phone, and he's like, do you think you'll ever end up with one? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. And it stopped me in my tracks because I have come to the realization that I can't see it. And I felt bad about that for a second, and I was really, trying to dig myself out of the hole after I said that. And I realized I'm really not supposed to know. That's the truth. I'm not supposed to know.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know. We don't know.
Like.
We can't play God and plan on who we're going to end up with or anything like that. We could just focus on doing what's right and seeking God first and foremost, and all else will be added.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true because to me, it's like when I think about seeking God's kingdom, it means to focus in the present moment, be aware of myself, and just love what's right. And if I do that, then it'll be revealed to me, and I'll be able to discern and know, wow, this is the person that I like this person, And I think you could, because, there's a lot of great people of all ethnicities that get it, and I think, when we kind of dwell in our thoughts about hearing what the media says, or, people on social media and stuff like that, like, it kind of tricks us into thinking, into an illusion, when, like, you never know what corner you're going to turn in life and see who will be revealed to you,
Exactly. And because I don't have a clear yes or no answer, like I said, the only thing I can say is I really don't know. And I am still on the fence about, the whole, like, interracial thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one I'm really still not clear on that. So yeah, with this particular friend, like I said, I have to say I don't know. And I mean, he dug a little deeper to kind of ask more questions, but that's really my answer. I couldn't tell you what that person's going to look like or who he's going to be. And I honestly don't even know if I will get married. Like, only God knows that. Oh my God, what are you doing with that light?
I would say I agree that it's normally best to stay with your kind, but how Jesse said when I asked him at church that one day was that in the end, what really matters is that the person you're with has that spirit of that God's spirit in them, and that they're living right, and they'll be a good husband or a good wife and a good mother or a good father. And it may or may not be someone who's in your your color tribe, but that's really going to determine how your kids come out. Of course, is it best if you met someone who was awake and had that spirit and he looked like you? I think it could work out good for the kids, less confusion. But
and that interracial dating stuff is a whole other conversation, I think.
Yeah, but let it be and see what God adds or does not add to your life.
That is so true, and I've had a lot of revelations or realizations, like, during this quarantine, as far as, the things that I was focused on before that either, I was vocal about or not vocal about. Like, those are things, obviously, that are between God and I. But it's definitely been communicated to me what it is that I need to focus on right now. And I can't say that, because really what I thought was that you had to work to get a relationship. Like, I really thought you actually had to look and find one. But I'm really seeing that, as long as you are walking with God and strengthening that relationship every day, actually really in every moment, the thing that you need to focus on is going to be right there in front of you. And then if a relationship or something like that, falls in your lap, it's going to fall in your lap at that perfect time. Like, there is no, I cannot control that at all,
But
and
you can't,
for the last year.
You can't control situations, but you can, if we build our awareness, and as observers, we can observe and see opportunities to create opportunities. Like, it's like you're not going to force anyone into your life, but you might be like, that you desire to meet somebody. So if it falls in line with whatever you do, like if you put yourself out there for your job or something, credit solution, you want to network or whatever it is, and you're, going, in the back of your mind, you want to find somebody, you might find someone through that. Like, if I just stay home all the time in quarantine, how am I going to meet somebody? I know that it's like, well, I like to get coffee, maybe I'll go out and walk and get coffee or something. I might meet someone then.
Right.
And if I see someone I think is attractive or whatever, it's like I might talk to him. Like I'm not saying you can control it, but at the same time you can see those opportunities and strike and create more opportunities. You know.
Right. You won't have a chance if you just lock yourself away.
Yeah.
And don't put yourself out there. You got, just because you're awake doesn't mean you can't go to a bar with your friends. I don't drink. Well, I haven't drank in months, but I'll still go hang out if we all go to a bar or something.
But then you think too. You're like, well, do I want to meet somebody? Do you think I'd end up meeting somebody from a bar?
I mean, not the best quality.
Like
But the idea is like, just get out, go
Yeah.
bowling, go do something.
Yeah, like figuring out what kind of person you want, and then what kind of environment might that be in?
Hiking at the park.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you bring up a great point.
Yeah.
Not to bring up the past, but remember, let me not say too much, but remember the night that we were all at the bar, right?
At the bar.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that with the Jenga night when you had the 2 drinks.
Oh God, the Jenga was something else. I'm talking about the most recent time, remember? And nothing, I don't remember anything that happened that night, but.
Oh yeah.
My friend's birthday.
No Grady's birthday.
Yes. Yeah. Dude, so I know we're not supposed to reflect on the past that much, but that really did shine a light on a lot of stuff for me. So ever since then, like I said, I've realized okay, I don't have to force situations, whatever they are, whether it's business, relationships, friendships, just because, like I said, okay, if I meet somebody at the bar, just because you go to a bar, it doesn't mean you have to get trashed or wasted or anything. You don't even have to drink.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't even think you drank, right?
No, no.
But,
Just water.
yeah, so I'm really, looking at that, and it's had I been more clear-headed that night, obviously I wouldn't have conducted myself in the way that I did, but
I remember.
But seriously, and on top of, and it's okay, those are, times like that,
Marijuana.
I feel like God is looking out for me because He made the situation so drastic that I have no desire to do that again.
Yeah,
you know what
because
I mean?
you were able to see it, and like you said, you don't have to dwell on the past or judge yourself for it, but you're grateful that you could see it, and just because you could see it, that changes you without having to try to change.
Right, exactly. And I'm looking at a comment because I'm watching on TV. Who is it? Johnny McWong?
Yeah.
He said wine bars are where it's at. Okay, not even kidding. He's onto something because I think there are more quality people in those kinds of areas.
Yeah, I would go to a bar back in the day, probably when I wanted to it kind of reeks sex of a hookup or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna meet somebody there.
Yeah.
I'll take them home. But if you start going to the lounges, even lounges all those kind of wine places are all kind of the same, but it's just upper echelon of mentality,
It'll still be a wham bam thank you man, but the quality goes up as you go to those nicer places.
There's better quality tail there, but none of us are having sex out of wedlock, so that does not matter. But yeah, there's definitely even with back to the business club thing, I was exposed to things like that too because it is different. It's not like going to a bar somewhere in Hollywood or something like that. It's a totally different vibe. It's these people know their wine, they know what cheese to pair, blah blah blah. So you do also have to change where you hang out and stuff like that. So that was another realization that I had too. But again, the thing is, for me, I would only want to do those things just to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I would want to just get more experiences in different places. I wouldn't necessarily be doing that in hopes of finding somebody.
Yeah, no expectations.
It's really just to refine. Yeah, it's just to refine my taste.
You gotta keep you gotta keep that your game sharp. If you don't get out there and talk to women, or a woman doesn't get out there and talks to guys, you're gonna be awkward and weird. So you gotta be sharp and work on your wit. And you try different places. I think you can kind of you'll know that if you go to a bar, you're probably gonna get a woman who's may or may not have a drinking problem. Maybe fun, but could be also hell. You go to a protest, you're gonna maybe she's conservative, but she might talk too much.
She might be super passionate.
She's too passionate.
Yeah, who knows?
Or
not saying of orchestrating plan things, but there are certain situations where or like it's going to attract a certain kind of person.
Yeah, so I don't know if like you'll be open to it, but just kind of know what you're walking into. Like go to gun ranges. There's meetup groups for hiking groups, or like you never know. But you just put your eggs in different baskets.
And if your eyes are open and you're just aware, they're probably going to be somewhere you never expect to see them.
Yeah, that's true, and it's interesting you say that because you can always feel, well, for myself anyway, I can feel that there is different energy in different places that I go to. Because I've been going out to Griffith Park, just to like walk a few times a week, and the people there are like way different than what I expected. Like the people that are out right now, it's like they're just on a different frequency. It's like they want to be healthy, they want to get out, they want to get fresh air. They're not afraid. Well, the ones that don't wear masks, they're not afraid, But there's just a whole different vibe there. And, if you want to get healthy, okay, you could probably meet somebody out there, or if you're on your health journey, you can also meet somebody there. So it's like, so I agree with you as far as like, going different places and getting into different hobbies and things like that. Because it's not just the romantic side. Like, you're just going to meet better people when you get out and do different things, because we could all sit on social media all day and God, who knows who you'll meet on there. But I do think the relationships that we make and that we foster are a lot better when we meet people that are in places where there's just better activity going on. I don't know how to say that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, well, if they're doing a healthy activity like hiking or taking care of their health, it's a good indicator that they live their life in a somewhat better way than somebody who's just getting smashed at a bar.
And it changes the expectation, like those dating apps, right? You match with someone on a dating app, and it automatically, the expectation is that we're gonna date. We're going to get to know each other, and could be a romantic thing, and that's automatically the box that it's in. But when you're out somewhere else, like, it creates this mystery, right? So if you like someone, it's like there's nothing forcing it. There's nothing that, and if you like each other, it's like it's an unknown silent thing that you kind of get that vibe and know and see where it's going. And then you just get to know each other naturally. It's not because it was forced and the setup set you up. Like, bars are kind of like that, It's kind of like, oh, I met her at a bar, and it's like, it kind of sets you up to have those expectations of things when the most random places that you don't, like a dog park. If you have a dog and you're walking, and you guys are, your commonality is it's set up to where it's not about dating, it's not about anything. You struck conversation and stuff. Maybe in the back of your mind you might be like, I like this person, but that silent, flirtatious kind of thing is what keeps it, like, I don't know, makes that magic in the air where it could go one way or the other. And so, I don't know, I just know those dating apps, it's like it puts this pressure.
Yeah, and I was talking to one of the girls about that sometime last week we were chatting about it, and how girls are, we always talk about dating and stuff like that, but I have a huge hesitation about dating online. And I wanted to actually get the guy's point of view about that, because what I was saying to one of the girls was that when you really look at, let's say Tinder, any online app really, when you think about how you and that person met, there was absolutely zero effort on either of your parts, right? There was
Google
no
a pickup line.
Yeah, it's like there was nothing there. You literally just had this piece, this device in your hand, and you swiped right. That's the most effortless thing ever. Now, I understand people can be married off of that app, sure, but what are the odds,
Yeah.
And, because this person was kind of trying to persuade me and say, no, but it could work. And I'm like, well, no.
It's
Who
like
have
the
you dated
person.
where you're like, are you married to the person you met on that app or not?
It's like the person that they got something free from their parents, right? They'll never fully appreciate it because it was handed to them. And I exactly like what you're saying. It's like when you're on a dating app, it's like the dating app is handing you something. And so you're never fully going to appreciate it because you didn't put in any work. You didn't take a chance or a risk of getting rejected or whatever it was, like you would in real life, where, you know, if you made it happen, you would value and appreciate how you met them and everything and the experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a good point.
And with the whole swiping thing, like those apps, as much as people might think, I'm sure they'll come up with different reasons why it's beneficial. The way I look at it now is that you're playing God and you think you're going to add the right one. I'm going to swipe right on this one. I'm going to pick the winner. And you're also living in your thoughts about this person. You know nothing about them. You had no genuine interaction. It wasn't a serendipitous moment. It's all your imagination.
And plus, you're only getting what that person wanted you to see.
Exactly. So it's all imaginary, and it starts in the imagination. Right. So how successful can it truly be?
That is such a good point, because when you see the photos, you know, like you said, again, it is just a snapshot, and it's the best angles, it's the best light. You know, they want to make themselves appear a certain way, which we all do that, you know, but no, I think it's more genuine if you were to meet the person in the store without, you know, tons of makeup on. Maybe they're wearing their busted sweats that day. But there's like something about them that maybe attracts you. So you go up to them and you talk to them. I do think that is a big thing that's missing right now, because a lot of people don't even know what that, you know, that, what do they call it? I guess butterflies or something. But you don't know that, like, that anticipation that you feel just walking up to a stranger.
Yeah,
like,
the social media and dating apps.
What that's like.
Dating apps eliminates the spirit aspect. You never get to get a vibe or an energy from somebody or from that stuff. It's all strictly visually stimulating. You know, you're visually reading their bio of what they wrote about themselves. You're visually looking at their pictures, and it's all like surface worldly stuff. It's not any kind of connection where, you know, you do see them in all different ways of light and get to know them and see for yourself.
Yeah, and there's always a little bit of crazy under there too, like I said, because
sure is.
There's just something odd about a person that doesn't take the time to go out into the world and meet someone. And then, you know, even if there's people that say, well, I'm doing this because I'm busy. Well, here's the thing. If you're that busy, you don't have time for anything else in your life other than the things you're busy with. So that's not even really an excuse either, you know, or a reason, I should say. But I was just wondering what, like, your perspective was on the online dating thing, because, like I said, I feel like it's just too easy. There's no effort, no work.
I've had fun. I'm not gonna lie. I've had fun on online dating in the past, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's only for one thing, you know?
It's for cess.
Oh.
Yeah, I would say the best way, it should always just feel like, I always just use like my first girlfriend in high school as an example, not because it was a successful relationship, but the way it started was as just friends, just hanging out, like innocent, like it should be like that, you know? Maybe you all went to lunch and you know, you hit it off and it just led to something else, you know, just kind of just talking, and, you know, you spend time talking to them and just get to know them, and then one thing leads to another. But I don't think the app gives you that. It's very artificial, and I don't think it'll ever bring you what you think what you would like it to bring.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, like most of the people on there, this is just an assumption, I guess, because I don't know most of the people on there, but I think it's really just a meeting place for people that are fresh out of relationships that, you know, don't really like to be alone. Maybe they're not adjusting well to the whole thing. And then I know that there's a lot of people that are new to the city, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not totally down on it, but it wouldn't be something that I would do, just because, like I said, I agree with you when you say it is, you know, trying to assume control over what is going to happen in your life. And none of us have the power to do that. You know, we can have desires and things like that, but at the end of the day, that we don't have the power to make those things happen if God has another plan for us. So, you know, That's where I'm at with that. But yeah, I was just saying all that to say, like, I've pretty much put that on the back burner as far as the whole dating thing, because there's just there's too many other things that God has presented me with right in my face for me to just brush it to the side and go focus on that other thing.
It's like you shouldn't focus on anything. You just do what's in front of you, and you don't think about it. Even with your job, you're not trying to plan like, oh, in 5 years, I'm gonna be at this point in my career. You just deal with today, and stay in the moment, and you just one day you just might wake up and realize, man, this person that I've been friends with or talking to or met yesterday at whatever the park is somebody that I think I could see myself with, and it just should just be kind of a nice sweet surprise, nothing that you plan for. Don't plan it.
So let me ask you this. So in that instance, when you are just kind of moving along, you know, you guys are friends, yada yada yada. What happens? Well, dang, I'm about to be in my head. Let's just humor each other really quick, okay? And be aware that I'm gonna be in my head. All right. So if you have, you know, you're buddies with someone, and then you do start to have those feelings, do you express them simultaneously, or how does that work?
If you have feelings for that somebody?
Yeah, like if one of the two has feelings, you know, obviously they're your own feelings, so you don't know necessarily what the other person is feeling. Like how does one handle that?
You recognize that those feelings are like, don't listen to feelings. Like feelings are going to lead you to the wrong thing, and it's going to destroy. So what you do is you recognize, you know, whether they are the type of person that you want in your life, right? And you just continue to see them.
Yeah, don't treat them differently.
Yeah,
like Jesse says, if you treat them differently because you have a crush on them, you will ruin it. You know, you'll sabotage your own situation.
Yeah, it just be aware that you have the feelings, and that's it, and be like, whoa, well, why do I have those feelings? Because I really don't think that love is a feeling. It's just it's a verb, it's an action, it's a way of being, you know. And so that it's just, do they fall in line with what you want in your life and stuff like that? And if they do, then just continue to see them and see where it goes.
And then you just drop the hammer and tell them that you think they're
No, don't tell them anything, because then you're forcing something, because you're gonna expect like, oh, now they gotta answer that, and you put them in an awkward position. You just let it be.
Yeah.
If the guy's gonna ask you to marry him, he'll ask you. You know.
Damn.
The woman
Even
shouldn't
as
have to worry about it.
You would ask as a friend.
What was that?
Like if you're just hanging out in the park as buddies, like he'll just propose all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, if he's into you, like I've had those conversations that sometimes, and I just know, like I could marry you, but I'll do it after you do, you know, A, B, and C. Forgive your mom, forgive your dad, and it looks like you're getting over your ego, which is huge. But I can only do that now because meeting Jessie and doing all those things. I just know, like, oh, I could do this, but she's gotta do her part. But it would be weird if she told me, like, oh, are you gonna marry me? Or like, it's not for you to. Don't tell me. I'll let you know if I can.
Right.
It's pressure, you know. There's these pressures that I'm realizing that the world. There's so many different pressures in the world trying to, you know, the societal pressure. There's pressure from your parents. There's so many different pressures, and if you could just see the pressures, then you realize that they're all illusions, and it's all in your mind, and that there really is no pressure. And if we just be observers, and we start to just see things as they are and find the truth, then we can just ride. You know, we're not creating expectations and other pressures within ourselves for ourselves, because we have these pressures around, and then we create pressures within, and then they, you know, conflict and stuff. And so if we just ride the wave. And that's the plan, I think, that God has for us, is that, you know, all these things will be added, and we never saw it coming, didn't know how it happened, but wow, look where we are, you know.
Yeah, that's so true. And like I said, I've noticed that for myself. There are parts of my life that I think other people are more concerned with than I'm concerned with. So that's always like a red flag for me too. It's kind of weird when it goes in that direction, but. So I want to ask you guys too. How do you, like, has your belief system ever interfered with your dating life? Like, does that happen for men? Because I know it does for us women, but I've never known or heard how it affects you guys.
Does the dating life,
your belief system, has it ever affected your dating life when you're talking to someone? I assume like you're talking about sharing
Yeah, like now
some of
that
your
you're
principles.
waking up and stuff. Like,
Yes, actually, yeah. I remember there was this girl that I liked, and we dated and stuff, but she was like a Jehovah's Witness. And it just didn't work because our belief systems just did not line up, you know. But it was interesting. I thought she was a cool person and everything like that. But at the end of the day, she was just so it was so ingrained in her to see life through a certain lens that I just knew that it wasn't, you know, gonna work.
it's like you kind of know right away. I guess that's the difference between men and women, because women can see it's not going to work, but we'll keep pushing it and forcing the issue anyway. Like, we're very much like that. Okay, so that was Trevor, but I don't think Beard Dude said anything.
So, I'll say recently, I was talking to someone who had a pretty similar, like, agreed on some of the major points. Conservative, not, you know, definitely against abortion, believed that, you know, marriages, you know, could work as long as a man, you know, loves God more than he loves a woman. But when you're honest, I found that the weakness in her, and I think it's going to be in most women, is going to be that when you're honest about what I observe about just female behavior and their limits and what they can and can't understand, they'll take offense to that, and then you see the ego come out and try to tell you, you know, what they can and can't do. Like, you know, like someone would say, well, I want to, you know, work and do this and have all these big plans, and it's like, well, you know what, you shouldn't even have that in your head. Just, you know, be a good mother and take care of your kids. Like, don't try and plan this big elaborate career for yourself before you even had like a good working marriage. So things like that. I think women have a hard time taking the truth from a guy when he points out, you know, like their tendency to jump right back into their imagination, and it's just like women have like all like lists for everything. Their dream shopping list, their this and that, like how many, like 2.5 kids and blah 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 blah, and they have a hard time letting that go. So in that sense, that's where, you know, being that honest about it definitely makes them. I felt like a little resentment.
Okay, well that's interesting. I was wondering about that whole thing, because I know as a woman that's waking up, you know, I tend to go back and forth sometimes too. And you're right about the list, because I remember you were talking with one of the other girls on the show the other night.
Yeah, Grace.
About lists. Yeah, and it's like lists they really do just set you up for hell, because you're never, the thing is you don't know what you want and you don't know what you need.
Yeah, those lists is like coming up. You're basically playing Tinder in your head. You have this imaginary list that and you believe that just because a guy hits all these physical criteria and a couple spiritual ones, you think that you picked him. Like, oh, I got it. And then it's like when Jesse told the girls at church one day that like when they asked like what is love. I think Grace might have asked it like, is it how do you know? Will you feel something? He's like, you're not going to feel anything. There's nothing. And it's hard for women to accept that because they want to feel something. Like, oh, I felt attracted to him. I love the way he looks. He's got big biceps. Whatever it might be. It's like, it's not about your feelings.
She's talking about me?
And I think that's the problem. Women live in their heads and they don't want to let go of these lists and the emotions that they attach to it. And they think that they're gonna choose their man.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many things I want to ask you guys now. I'm gonna write them down and just like ask you 2 questions a week. So, okay. I understand that women do have their lists and they want things physically, economically, all that good stuff. Aren't men the same way though? Like I do find that, okay, let me ask it this way. Sometimes the person that you're looking for, or not looking for, but the one that you're going to end up with or that's good for you, may not be in the package that you are actively pursuing. I don't know that men truly believe that yet, because they're very visual creatures. So how does that work? Like, what if you see that this person is awake, this person is, their belief system is very similar to yours, all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But there's this one component that you don't go for because your eye is trained to look for something else. How do men handle that? Like, would you be able to recognize
Like if a guy,
that person?
like if a guy physically prefers blondes over brunettes or Spanish over white, and if he doesn't let that go, do you think, is that what you're asking?
Oh, and tell Black Stepdad we see his question. I saw his question. I'll get to it.
What's his question? What up, Team Warrior?
Yeah. So, yeah, we can keep it simple like that. Like, yeah, say he's like, oh, no, I love blondes. Oh, God. But the person that, you know, may be good for him is a redhead, you know?
I think
With real pasty white skin.
yeah, I think he's falling for the same trap in a way that's still a list, and yeah, a guy shouldn't have a list either. But I think most importantly, at least the way I'm looking at it now, you're trying to find somebody who would not just have the same belief system, but that would be that mother for the kids that you need, and could she let go of that ego? And I think it's these days, especially in a big city. Most of these girls got huge egos. I don't care how awake they are. I don't care if they know Jesse or not. Ego is a woman's biggest hang-up. Huge egos.
Yeah.
So, like, as much as they know what's right and they can understand what's right, they still act up. And I think that would be most important, in that, I don't want my kids to be confused in any way growing up. I don't want to have to battle with her over those things. And so I think, for me at least, I'd want her to be similar to me physically, even though that could be me keeping a list, but only because I don't want my kids to go through what I went through, feeling confused about their heritage. What about you, Trevor?
Well, because how does that work as, because you said that you're Hispanic and white, right? So
Yeah.
how would that work? Like, do you have to find a person that's the exact mix that you are?
I would
Mexican
say
is not the same as Salvi. That's like two totally
Yeah.
different things.
no, because in my case it would be more of the culture. I'm mixed by ethnicity. I look white, was treated white growing up. I had dirty blonde hair for most of my childhood, and then it got darker. So I grew up feeling white, at least because based on how people felt. And I only later attached to the Spanish side to get through school and not get picked on as much. But I would want her to have a similar culture to my dad's culture, because that's what I identified with the most. And now that I'm awake, I identify with that culture now completely. It's 100% white American, and those kind of little idiosyncrasies, like the things we can joke about, just grandma having Thanksgiving dinner at 3:00 in the afternoon. Just, playing categories. I don't know if that's a white thing, but something where there would be a blending, and it wouldn't be such a shock to be around that kind of culture, and my kids would have the same kind of upbringing, listen to the similar kinds of music, and I don't know. That's for me how it is. Like that's what I identify with, that culture.
I think too.
I get you. That makes.
For me, it's like I think of it like marriage is something created first and foremost because you want to have a family. It's not because we're so in love and we want to just put it on paper that we're going to be together forever. I think that's a misconstrued idea of what marriage is, and I think society has turned it into that. But first and foremost, marriage is a business decision where you're deciding that this is my business partner to create human beings with that we can raise and keep generations of family going. I think that's what it is. So first and foremost, when you look for someone to marry, I think, for myself at least, I'm looking for someone that's going to share the values of how you would raise your children. It'll align properly, as opposed to thinking like how she pleases me visually, how she pleases me, sexually or whatever it is, But I like a balance, though. It's like I know that the more beautiful a woman is, the more of a headache she is these days.
Yeah.
So if I'm strictly going after a girl because I think she's hot, chances are she's probably not gonna. She's hot and educated. she's got all in her ego and wants to go work and compete with me, she's not going to be able to raise a family the right way. And so I'm still growing and figure out what I want. Like, do I want marriage? Do I, because I know it's a lot that goes into it. But I'm open to, God adding into my life and having the awareness to see and know what's the difference between a wife and a girl you date, or those kind of things. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but yeah.
I mean, no, I get what you're saying. Like it's just, I don't know, man. Like
She's got to be attractive enough. She's got to be attractive enough to make me want to put babies in her.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I wondered. Like, does that come with just knowing their spirit and their personality?
I think
or
that adds to it.
All physical?
I think that adds to it. That's the thing, is once you get to know people, like I've seen someone right away and be like, oh, she's not my type. And then you get to know them, and then they start, like, it's weird because their physical starts to change. The lens you see them through, because most people put people in a box, before they know them. Especially girls do that. They create this box of who they want you to be, and then once you deviate from that, they don't like you. But I know that you that once you get to know somebody, they could physically start to change in the way they look and look more attractive to you because of their personality. It's like just the same as like a girl could look hot right away, and as you get to know her, she starts to just look ugly because of the spirit she has, or her laugh is just super annoying. That's another thing. I don't like a girl with an annoying voice or laugh. I'm sensitive with the ears, with the sounds, okay? So don't have some crazy, weird giggle laugh. It sounds insane.
Oh man, I totally get it, and I agree with you. Where the more you get to know a person, the more attractive they become. Like even if they're a little hard in the face.
Yeah, she could be a butterface.
So
she could.
Yeah.
Everything fine, butterface.
Yeah, no, but I totally get everything that you're saying, and like I said again, like certain things are being revealed to me just day by day, and it's like, as a woman, there are certain things that we're very stubborn about that we don't want to change, but the truth of the matter is we may have to, and not going to go too deep into that, but yeah, I feel you.
Yeah,
so I think that's it as far as my dating questions for tonight.
Yeah, like Trevor said, the more beautiful they are, the more ego they're gonna have, and that unfortunately is very true, and it's sad because some of those, like the Afro Latina that was on Jesse's show, and and I've talked to some girls, and the more attractive ones I did get to talk to, and it seemed like it might have been something, they had the hardest time to let go of their ego, and they couldn't really always see it, but the way that they're the ones who had the strongest lists, basically. Those beautiful girls have these ridiculous wish lists, and they don't want to let it go, and so they have a hard time, which is why they end up being that older woman who still may be hot, maybe a cougar. Yeah, but she ends up by herself and lonely because no one can handle that.
And you know
attitude.
what I think that comes from? When you're beautiful and stuff like that, the world kind of praises you and kisses your feet and gives you anything they want, especially men. They see this attractive woman, and so they want to just, they want something from her, so they're going to just allow her to walk all over, and she ends up being their god. So a pretty girl, she's got all these people that made her god, and so now she's like all high and mighty on her throne. And so she's going to look for a man that's going to be weak enough to give her everything she wants, and then she'll give sex to him. And so that list is created, like you said. And I like the girls that grew up that they weren't that hot, and then all of a sudden they became older, and then they're like they grew into their hotness, so they have this humility, but then they're like,
they're hot.
They're hot, and then it's like, oh dang.
Yeah, it's I guess I sometimes do feel, I don't want to say I feel bad for guys, but it is unfortunate that sometimes, the majority, I would imagine, the majority of men are led by their eyes and, what they see without, taking into consideration that, like you said, a lot of hot girls, they are a mess, but they're only a mess because when you think about it, like there are only so many women that are naturally hot. The truth is, like when you have to really put effort into everything. You know, like you have to push everything up. You got to wear your makeup, dye your hair, do all this other stuff. There's a lot that comes with that. So you do have an expectation of what you're going to get because you're putting so much work into the person that you're presenting to the world, you know? And they get that response. So, I mean, I guess my question is, whose fault is that those girls get that ego?
The
because
dad?
they wouldn't have it if
Yeah.
people didn't.
The dynamic of the mother and father. Like if a woman has a right dad that loves her properly and shows her, has that connection where it's because that's her first connection with a man, right? And a father-daughter relationship is not sexual at all, right? So she's gonna know how to have a relationship with a man that is not led by sex,
Exactly.
basically with her father, and they're gonna be able to experience life together, and she's gonna learn from him. He's gonna teach her the right way, how to conserve her body, how to go out into the world and not depend on that.
Conserve her words.
And correct her in the right way, so that when she's out in the world, she'll be able to recognize what kind of man that is. That'll remind her of her dad. You know?
Yeah, because it's not based on sex. She can see the spirit, and you don't need a wish list, because what she should be looking for is that fatherly love. Is he going to treat her right, live right, do what's best for the children, and be an amazing father? He may not be. Maybe he's an inch shorter than she wanted. Maybe he's got a pot belly and not a six pack or whatever it is. Maybe he's darker instead of pale. But it's the spirit first and foremost.
Man, what about me?
Yeah. So like that's what she should. If she was raised right, she would be able to tell the spirit and not rely on the physical to try and figure out who's the right match.
Yeah. It's these pesky eyes, man. It's these eyes. They're so powerful, But it's only when you start to wake up that you see that that's not everything. It is a key component though, because again, I would love to go deeper into that, but it's like what you see on the outside does give you a pretty good indication of what's going on the inside.
You should care about your appearance. Like she should be clean and brush her hair.
Yeah.
But, if she's
like
all
that
physical,
I agree with.
Yeah, but if she's purely physical, she's too into her looks. She's letting you know that that her model for living and finding a match is going to be based on the physical. That you have to look like a model for Calvin Klein for her to consider it, and then she wonders why she's picking bad dudes over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, guys that are into their looks are pretty dangerous as well, because I mean, it's really not natural as
Those
a
are
guy
super
to do
beta
that
males.
way.
Yeah, it's very feminine.
Yeah, that's a little strange to me. So, but I like a guy that likes to look good when he goes out. Like I totally,
He can clean up.
I like when I buy clothes and stuff. You gotta have clothes, right? You're not gonna go out naked. So when I buy clothes, I look at things that I like and I get them. So and that's it. And all it is awareness, right? I'm aware of the world, how the world perceives things. You want to look your best, so that when you go out into the world, I occur a certain way to people, and I get that, and I play the game because, especially in the industry I'm in, I gotta look, But I only was able to do that by seeing and observing. Like I didn't become a good singer unless I listened to other singers and saw how they did certain things, and I pulled what I liked the way they did. I don't, piano. It's all because I heard something and I emulated it and I copied it. And the same thing is with everything else. It's like I don't create things. All I can do is co-create and be aware and observe. So if I can see, a shirt on a rack or pants or whatever, I see it. I know one thing. I know it's got to fit me, right? That's number one. If it fits, cool. It's going to look good. And then from there, I'm just like, oh, that pattern's cool or whatever. And you put things together. It's like, but I don't spend too much time on it and dwell in it and like glorify like I know some people are like super sneakerheads and they're just like they praise the shoes and stuff like that. I've never been like that, but I think it's important to look good and there's some guys out there who are super just like they don't care at all. They're not aware of their pants fitting, their shirt fitting. It's awareness thing, and I think girls like that. They like a guy that is aware, because if you're aware, like I remember when I dated girls or whatever, was dating some girls. the more aware I am, the more aware I'm going to be like, hey, oh, you should get new earrings. You know, like I just noticed because I didn't see them before, and now I see it. When a lot of guys, they don't notice stuff. You know, I think the more you notice things in life and just see it, then that is all you need.
Yeah. Just be observant. You'll know what I need a haircut.
Of course, she's gonna take it as like, oh, I'm so special. Oh, you're thinking of me. Oh, you noticed me. But reality is that you're just aware. Yeah.
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 You're right. Yeah, and it is an awareness thing. I remember I dated a dude that was not aware at all, and it drove me crazy to the point that I played mama and took him to the clothing store and was like, dude, let's get this together. I swear, you guys, it used to be so bad, but but he complied. That's all I can say. He shouldn't have complied, though. He should have said, kick rocks. That's what he should have said. But anyway, I do agree. You should, at least wrap up your packaging, or your wrap your person in presentable packaging. I think that's just the way it should be.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Temple. Your body's a temple.
I have one last question.
Go for it. Shoot.
I do have one question.
Trevor Bill's on mine.
How do you guys feel about plastic surgery on women?
For me, it's different. Like if you're just super, it's like how deep do you go? Are you against braces? Like if you got a messed up smile, it's gonna change your life, and you're super insecure and you hate it. Like there are certain people, it's like you got a little gap tooth, it adds character, you're cute. But if your teeth are like that, or like
gang signs.
Like you look like a squirrel, like yeah, exactly, throwing gang signs, then you might want to get braces and fix it. It's the same thing with anything else. If your face looks like that, maybe hey, it might change your whole life to get it fixed.
Yeah, I mean you should work hard to say you want to drop 2 pounds. Work hard first at getting your diet right. Because I've had an aunt who had the gastric bypass surgery. She didn't blow up, but she had people who went through it and they got that stuff done, ended up blowing right the hell back up, and it didn't matter that they got the surgery because they didn't change the real problem, which is whatever was causing them to overeat. So I think it's I'm not going to judge a woman who gets a lot of surgery, but there's a time and a place, and there's a point where too much can happen. Like you start looking like Joan Rivers. Maybe you want to puff your lips up. All right, whatever. You want to get some bigger boobies. I can dig that. It's visually pleasing, but I think it's usually they're doing it because they're trying to cover up something. There's a spiritual issue there, and they go too far with it. And then
I think those subtle things are not the way. It's like I'm not. It's like you got. If you're just a straight gymnast with just a back as a chest, I get it. You're like, all right, get some. Make me notice you're a woman. But as far as it's not big enough, or the little things like the plump lips and all that stuff, I'm not a fan of that because that's just shows insecurity. I'm talking about the people that look insane.
And they could look beautiful already as they are, which is another issue. If you already are naturally pretty, and you're still doing these things, then yeah, there's a bigger problem there, which she's not dealing with. No matter what she thinks she knows, there's a void she's filling. She's already naturally pretty. Why keep doing these things? It's not for preservation. It's also to play up her power. It's her sex, and that's her weapon.
Yeah. Well, I'll be real. I'm not opposed to it at all, and I will, dive into that some other day, but I'm definitely not opposed to it. I do think, you have to do it within reason, though. So, yeah. What's his name was taken off? I wanted to answer his question before he got offline, but I think he's gone now.
Who? Black Stepdad?
Black Stepdad?
I don't know. I know somebody asked, what was your thoughts about Prince Harry and how he's been acting with his wife lately, that Meghan Markle. She's black.
Yeah, she black, but she not real black. So she's a different
she ain't
different
black
breed.
Her skin is black, but she ain't black.
Yeah, we can't really put her in the bucket with the rest of us black people. But I think that Harry as a whole is an outcast in that family anyway. he was never going to be a king, so he's not really held to the same standard as the others. He really just has that rebellious spirit. Definitely has a lot to do with his mom dying the way she did.
Yeah.
And there's clearly something going on there because he's rebelling against his grandmother. But again, he's going to his girlfriend, who is now, or his wife, who is now his new mama.
You heard about him selling all his guns?
Didn't Jesse say there was like only $50,000 worth of guns?
Yeah,
that's not a lot of guns for a guy like him.
He gave that's a lot of money, but he gave up his weapons because she doesn't like hunting. What do you think about that? Is that what a man would do?
It's not what a man would do, but again, it is something that a male who's influenced by the mama spirit, absolutely. Like, he wouldn't think twice about it. I don't know any men that would follow their women to another country or let her influence the move to another country. And on the side of Megan, like, she's only doing what she's supposed to do with that spirit that she has in her. She's just doing what any evil woman would do. She's got him wrapped around her finger. It's a power play for sure, because here you are, you take a prince or whatever the heck he is, you convince him to come off the throne. Okay, I would think I had a lot of power if I was able to do that and was able to get him to relinquish anything he was going to get in the future. You know, this is going down in history. You know, they're going to write about this in the books in the UK or whatever. She's on a big power trip right now, so why not just keep it going? Sell everything you have, become my slave, you know, for lack of a better term. That's what she's doing, but it just looks like something else to the public, you know, but that's all it is. She's just playing mama. And then Harry's just all too willing to be the son, I guess.
Yeah. Wasn't she also married before?
She was, and I believe she's older than him. So if that doesn't reek of, like, mama spirit, I don't know what else does, you know? But there's a lot of guys that think that that's hot, you know, dating older, you know, all that. Like, they love that stuff.
That was me before.
Kind of,
I think it's because I think that comes from a lack of deep down insecurity of an immaturity, that they think that they are mature inside because they're dating somebody older.
I also thought it was great because older women were easier to get into bed. When I, in college, I would, you hit on a cougar at the bar. It just felt like there was less games, and you get straight to the point. She wants some, you want some, you both get some.
You're all nasty.
I mean, that was the false state. I was blind. I could not help myself.
No, I know that, like I said, honestly, this spirit hits us in so many different ways, and that may have just been it for you. I'm sure I have it in another way. But listen, I'm going to answer what's his name's question, and then I'm getting off because I see T Warrior wants to call. So, I know he's gone now, but to Black Stepdad, yes, I will absolutely surrender to my husband. Otherwise, I will stay single. Like, if I'm not ready to surrender, there's no point in getting married.
So if he tells you,
that's my question.
If he tells you, like, you want the baby circumcised, you want your son circumcised, and blah blah blah, you want this or that, and he tells you no, and he calls all the shots, are you going to submit to what he says?
Like, if I want the baby circumcised,
for example,
he doesn't?
yeah, that, or I want him to go to this school, or to do that, he says no, and he disagrees with you and says this is what's going to happen, are you going to go with what he says?
She could say it right now, but who knows until that time comes what she'll really do.
Right, that's the actual answer. But the truth is, those are things that will honestly be discussed prior to marriage anyway, because that is important stuff that has to be on the table before you walk down the aisle. I don't care what anybody says. Those are life decisions. That's not something that you do after. You know what I'm saying?
But
I
say,
can't
like, life
see that.
happens. Like, I had a buddy who had to move out of state, and the wife didn't, was protesting in some way, saying, like, why don't we just make it here, blah, 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 the kids and their school and their friends, and he says, no, this is my decision, and we're going. In that situation, are you going to fight your husband because you think you know what's best, or are you going to follow his lead? Do you trust that he is doing the best decision for you? And would you just shut up and go with it?
Not even. I don't even think there's a shut up and go with it. It's just he's my husband. Like, why would I not trust his leadership? That's the real question. So yeah, I mean, if he can see it, if there's something in me that's hesitant, then I would have a discussion. I don't know that it would be an argument, because sometimes somebody can present something to you and it doesn't quite make sense to you on the surface, and you do need to actually get more information. So in that case, I could see asking him, like, why is this the only option? You know, if I was that against whatever decision it was that he made. But I don't know, man. That's the thing. When you get with somebody under the right circumstances, I don't think things like that are going to happen.
Yeah,
It's the people that don't know each other before they get married.
I think,
You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
for
Like,
sure, you're gonna, know the basics. Like, I'm not gonna circumcise my children. I don't care what she thinks.
Yeah.
But things will come up, and I know that sometimes you might have to check your wife. But like Matt says, if you are living right, and like you said, I think she'll get along a lot easier, even if she thinks and it's a bad idea, or she's hesitating. If you've done nothing but lead with logic, she'll get the picture. Stop doubting your husband and let him lead the way.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm not like these. I used to be. That's the crazy part. But like now, I can't see not letting a man lead. I cannot. I can't even. I can't fathom it. So no, like that is something that you are going to discuss, because again, I'm mature enough to discuss with the man I'm going to marry whether or not we're going to circumcise our kids. I'm mature enough to know, would you ever want to relocate? Would you ever want to move out of the country? Would you ever want to do this, this, and that? These are basic questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to ask people more than